So I've spoken about Bill Burr on the program. And as I've said before, Bill Burr has completely lost the thread, absolutely lost the thread. This means that Bill Burr is both a moral and an economic idiot. This is not actually how economics works. It turns out that Bill Burr charges a lot of money for his comedy special. Shouldn't he give it out for free? I mean, there are a lot of working people who really like Bill Burr, and they now have to choose between paying their rent and getting a Bill Burr ticket.
So for the past few months, we have been witnessing Ben Shapiro attempting to get Bill Burr's attention and trying to get him to respond by taking shots at him and trashing him on his own show. And although it didn't really work, Bill never responded or engaged. Well, he finally did. Now, I don't want to overhype this because honestly, Bill's response was very underwhelming. I mean, the fact that we got this through a New York Times article is absolutely insane. I mean, what is this, the 1930s? Although, I guess respect for Bill for not engaging and feeding into the drama, but I feel like this one is such an easy opportunity for him to make fun of Ben that he should really take it because, I mean, the fact that Ben is actually saying all that stuff with a straight face in front of a computer, a laptop that has a sticker saying, "Facts don't care about your feelings." I mean, at that point, he's basically begging for it. And so in this video, we'll go through Ben's most recent attack on Bill, which we haven't talked about. I guess we'll also talk about Bill's response. But mainly, I did want to point out something that I noticed when I was working on a video a few days ago, which actually got blocked, which is sad. But we'll talk about that more later in the video. But the point is that it is very interesting how Rogan's feared comedians, whether it is Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, or Tony, they've all been avoiding talking about Bill Burr and all the things that he's been going viral for recently. For example, Brendan Schaub did bring up when he was talking about the LA fires and gave him some attitude. But then when it comes to Bill making fun of Elon Musk or the rich, no one is saying a thing. And to me, it's pretty clear why. So let's get started.
So I've spoken about Bill Burr on the program. And as I've said before, Bill Burr has completely lost the thread, absolutely lost the thread. So Bill Burr has decided, as a very rich individual who makes money by saying funny things sometimes. And again, this is coming from somebody who really enjoyed, for example, his Red Rock special. I think that he's done some really funny stuff in the past. And then he decided that he was going to go not just woke, but the wokest of the woke on everything from race to economics. So on his Monday morning podcast, he decided that he was going to sound off about billionaires again. Now, again, this is not his first rodeo on this particular topic. We talked about this a few weeks ago. He suggested that Luigi Mangione, who is the shooter of Brian Thompson, who is the head of United Healthcare, he was the CEO over there, the murderer of that guy on the street. Bill Burr had suggested that he basically had it coming because he ran a health insurance company. Well, now Bill Burr has expanded his critique out to all billionaires. Apparently, according to Bill Burr, simply earning a lot of money in the United States or anywhere else means that you should be murdered. This means that Bill Burr is both a moral and an economic idiot. This is not actually how economics works. The way that you become a billionaire in a free market capitalist system is by generating new goods, products, and services at a price enough affordable that people want to get it. That is how you make a lot of money. Back in the old days of feudalism, the way that you made a lot of money is by robbing poor people and taking all their stuff. And you had to do that to a lot of poor people because they didn't have a lot of stuff. And it turns out the people in those days who were rich actually weren't all that rich by modern standards. They didn't have any modern conveniences. There was no innovation or anything like that. Okay, but billionaires of today, generally speaking, are billionaires because they created something that's awesome for everybody. But Bill Burr obviously doesn't understand economics. He doesn't understand morality either, because his suggestion is that if you, apparently, if you are worth $999 million, you're good to go. If you make $1 billion, you should be murdered on the streets, according to Bill Burr.
Now, once again, this isn't the first time that Ben has taken shots at Bill. He has been trying to get his attention for a while, and we have been covering every single time. But what's interesting is that every single time, Ben continues to double down and continues to attack Bill, even if his own audience doesn't agree with him, because according to his own comment section, every single time that he defends the rich by taking shots at Bill, everyone calls him out and they disagree. I mean, he keeps taking L's back to back. Now, to be fair, technically, his argument is not wrong if Bill Burr was actually serious and he was pushing for that stuff. You know, Bill has made a lot of money. He is massively successful, wealthy, and he used the exact same system as those who he's making fun of. And so realistically, where do you draw the line? However, what makes this such a bad faith argument is that I'm pretty sure Ben knows that Bill Burr is joking. I mean, I can't read his mind, but the fact that he has defended Tony in the past when he made that joke about Puerto Rico at one of the biggest political rallies ever, and the fact that he has reacted to a lot of stand-up comedians makes me believe that he knows what comedians do.
A roast comedian who is so widely accepted that he has made significantly worse jokes than this on Comedy Central, now being ripped up and down for making the exact same kind of jokes at a Trump Vance rally. I don't buy it. But here was Tony Hinchcliffe. These are the jokes that have set off 1,000 think pieces. This is literally what he does for a living. And by the way, this is what all comedians do for a living. George Lopez over the weekend did a Tim Walz event, and he made a very similar joke about Mexicans. So Mexicans steal things is a perfectly appropriate joke at a Harris Walz rally, but Tony Hinchcliffe says something mean about Puerto Ricans, and it's the end of the world.
And so it doesn't make sense that when Tony makes a joke about Puerto Rico being an island of trash, it's just comedy, but when Bill Burr makes a joke about the rich, it's somehow the first step towards class warfare. I mean, that's insane. And although I can understand some of the criticism for Bill Burr going Hollywood, when Ben says that he doesn't like Bill anymore because he went full woke, that is absolutely cringe and doesn't make any sense. I mean, that is such a lazy argument, such a lazy accusation, that it's as dumb as saying that Joe Rogan went full red pill recently. I mean, he has been hunting, working out, fighting. He used to do all that stuff before it became a thing. Same thing with Bill Burr. He used to make fun of the rich and those in power way before it became a massive thing because of the whole United Healthcare CEO situation. It's not like Bill Burr was all in on trickle-down economics and defending the rich and then saw that he could make way more money and get more clout by making fun of them. That doesn't make any sense.
I love how people still blame ties for gas prices and not the fact that we print $1 trillion with nothing behind it every August. This is liberals. This is Donald Trump. Oh, is that what it is? I thought it was 10 cunts in the Federal Reserve with suits, right? Did somebody explain to me why the president just doesn't send the army over there with guns and walk in and be like, yeah, this is over. This is over. We don't owe you any money. You guys can all go f*** yourselves. And it's our currency again. And we say it's worth something. All right? You guys left me on that. What are you all, economists? That's actually not how it works. What you gotta have is you need a valuable metal. But what gives gold value? Excellent question.
And look, I could be wrong, but isn't it interesting that this 2-hour podcast / stand-up comedy special, which Bill basically freestyled, was 10 times better than anything that the Rogan Sphere has put out recently. But also notice how Bill said the C word on his special, on that video, and he didn't have to make a massive deal about him getting canceled or censored, and that's why he had to release it on YouTube. But the point is that if you go back and watch that podcast recording or that special, to me, it didn't seem like Bill was trying to play or pander to a new audience like other podcast comedians do at the moment. And instead, he was just doing what Bill does. For example, when it comes to Andrew Schultz, in my opinion, he got way too rich and way too famous, way too quick, because he basically went from being one of the edgiest comedians, according to him, to now basically doing what Burr Kreischer does, which is to talk about his family while using some profanity. And by the way, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And he added, they are rabid with effing greed, and they're going out and dividing everybody. Well, there's certainly no divisiveness I'm sensing from Bill Burr there, talking about how people should be, legitimately murdered for earning too much money in the United States. It's this sort of terrible economic analysis that leads to Bernie Sandersdom. You just say, in the free country, nobody should have to live on more than one salary. Okay, well, thanks for your statement about realities that you wish didn't exist. Now, what is your alternative? Because it turns out the government ownership and redistribution of resources makes everyone extremely poor. It turns out that massive tax rates, confiscatory tax rates, kill the very businesses that people need to work for. The economy is dynamic. People like Bill Burr believe that the economy is static, and so billionaires are just taking a bigger chunk of a fixed pie, but that is not how the economy works. But where that shades over into truly evil thinking is when you start translating that into violence. That billionaires, because you misunderstand economics, need to be killed because they're suddenly centralizing all the resources. Please, name me the person from whom Elon Musk has stolen money. Seriously, I'd like to hear the name of that person so Elon Musk can repay that money. For that matter, I would love to know from whom Bill Burr has stolen his money. Bill Burr has a net worth apparently around $20 million. From whom did he steal that money? What's the cutoff for being a bad person? Is it like $21 million or something? It turns out that Bill Burr charges a lot of money for his comedy special. Shouldn't he give it out for free? I mean, there are a lot of working people who really like Bill Burr, and they now have to choose between paying their rent and getting a Bill Burr ticket. So, maybe he should give away all of his product for free.
Now, what's really funny about this is how seriously Ben Shapiro's taking Bill, but I can't do the same for Ben. I can't take him seriously. He's doing way too much. It would be like if whenever we talk about Burr Kreischer, if every time he says that he doesn't have a problem or is not an alcoholic, if we go like, well, actually, based on the definition and according to the science, you 100% are an alcoholic. Like, it's just doing way too much, because even if it was true, I mean, they're comedians at the end of the day, so you're taking it way too seriously. And later on, he goes on and explains that the reason why it matters to him is that he fears that because of how politics swings from one side to the other, that at some points it will be okay to think like Bill Burr. And honestly, I think that's the big disconnect for Ben Shapiro, because he's choosing to take what Bill says as his political stance instead of just how he feels as a comedian doing a comedy podcast and venting, because he was basically talking about how someone working full time should be able to afford paying rent. And so when Bill says to put them down, some people find that funny because they might have had that feeling before, but would never actually take it literally. Again, it's venting, it's not a manifesto. But also, Ben's response is so wild because, again, Bill was mad and pointing out that people working full time should be able to afford paying for rent. And Ben Shapiro's answer was basically, okay, fine, but let's not hurt the rich people's feelings. What? And now when it comes to Rogan's Fear comedians not wanting to talk about Bill, this is the reason why I think that's going on.
This other thing about Elon. Elon's going to steal everybody's money. He has $400 billion. I'm telling you, he's not going to steal your money.
Sure. I don't think that Elon is motivated by money when he's already the richest man in the world.
No.
But it doesn't matter. My point being, no, he's going, I don't want the richest guy in the world to.
I don't want the fox telling me how the hen house is set up. Find a chicken or a hen to do that.
But chickens can't set the shit up right.
Get
That's
a
why
dog.
you buy a house.
Listen, get a dog.
Listen, I understand what both of y'all are saying.
I want the fox.
But this is why the conversation.
I want the fox.
Fox away. Yeah, all those chickens need to come out on the.
Fox. I don't want that. I want somebody who understands how to run billion-dollar and trillion-dollar corporations to go in and see what the excess is.
I want a combination.
This is so the amount of people that are struggling out there because of these billionaires, and they got us all arguing liberal and conservative. We got to stop doing that. Like, I am so tired of hearing about people going to bed worried about what's going to happen next week. There is so much money in this country, and there's so much work being done, and if you work a full week at a job, you should be able to pay your rent. You shouldn't have to go out and get another job and still be struggling. It's bad for the country, because then the kids don't see their parents and they're not getting the upbringing that they need. It's so these billionaires, they need to be put down, like rabid dogs. They're like rabid with greed and just going out and just dividing everybody.
And look, I used to be a big Elon fan, and same with Joe Rogan. I mean, I still watch the podcast, but not like before. I used to never miss an episode. And even though Joe has definitely changed, and so has the podcast, the show, to be fair, because it was never just a comedy show and it was Joe talking to whoever about whatever, I guess him not making fun of Elon is not that bad. But then when it comes to him not pushing back or calling him out whenever he says some crazy stuff, that's when it's disappointing. And when it comes to other comics like Andrew Schultz, I mean, him not making fun of Elon Musk or others like Drake, maybe in hopes of at some point having them on the show, it's absolutely insane. That's for sure an example of a podcaster and not a comedian, because the Fliggin' podcast has gone through so many rebrands, and because everyone around him is just a yes man and nobody calls him out besides sometimes Alex Media, I mean, the show gets really boring, and they only talk about politics and trending topics, and it's always so predictable. And so at this point, the Brilliant Idiots podcast is definitely much better. Just compare what Andrew said versus what Bill Burr said about Elon.
I'll tell you what's funny. I made fun of the
Twitter guy for fucking Sieg Heiling not once but twice. And I never look at my emails. I was scrolling through my emails and it said my Twitter account had been flagged for inappropriate. I don't even tweet anymore. It had been flagged for whatever. What a fucking baby. Just like Hitler. A fucking baby. Because that's another thing. All of these people that are into fucking Hitler, you know what I mean? And like look at this guy like he was some sort of fucking hero. The guy's one of the biggest fucking cowards ever. All the pain and all the suffering that guy's caused and the war crimes the Allies had to commit, firebombing cities to get that motherfucker. When it came time for him to pay the price for all the suffering he caused millions and millions and millions of people. Did he face the music? Nope. He gave himself a nice, quick, painless fucking death. That's your fucking hero? Coward is what he was. He should have faced the music and he didn't. Anyway. This is the world we live in, where you got to remind people that guy was a bad guy.
And now what makes this even crazier is that a few days ago, I was working on uploading a video, and right before I posted the video, it was automatically blocked everywhere, which was really strange. I mean, I've had a lot of videos in the past get claimed. That's pretty normal. And even though we don't make money off of those, it still brings in views and potentially gets people to subscribe to the channel. But this time, it was really weird. It wouldn't let me post it and it was automatically blocked. Apparently because we were using the Billy Corgan episode, which is weird. Again, it's never happened before. And it really sucks because I was excited to post that video. I mean, I had fun making it and I thought it had some pretty interesting moments. I highly recommend you go watch it even though it's behind a paywall. It helps support the channel. But also this way, I'll have a place where I can upload the videos that I want to make without having the risk of all the time and the work going to waste. And also, I'm pretty sure you can send messages on there, and eventually I do want to start live streaming, so I feel like that would be a good place to begin. I'll be adding some more information in the description, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video, but that is all we have for today. See ya.
There's a lot of guys that are still cutting their podcast up with commercials. They'll stop in the middle and do a commercial. Do you guys do that?
We've done it before. I don't know if we currently do. We just left our current advertisers. It was a nightmare. We just signed with Paragon. Shout out to Paragon. So, you know, I don't know. Sometimes we might, Joe, to be honest with you. Yeah. But you know, what we are doing.
But if you're going to do it, you're only going to do it once, right?
Once, yeah. But what's different with
like
King of the Sting is, so when we do our read,